How about that?
It's different.
It happens to be especially good.
Welcome to episode 52 of the Columbo podcast, where we are certainly different, but not necessarily especially good.
Well, some weeks were especially good.
Some more so than others, I'll give you that. How are we?
Not too bad at all. How are you?
I'm excellent. All the more excellent for watching this episode.
It's a good episode.
It's a return to form. This episode, in my opinion, Ian, without wanting to jump the gun here, would not be out of place during their original run.
Yeah, it certainly was significantly better than... I mean, I think three of the last four have been good.
Mm-hmm.
But this one was particularly good.
It has all the attributes, I think, all the aspects of what you would expect from a classic Columbo case.
Almost ironically so.
Why?
Because the director was someone we criticised during the original run for getting away from the classic.
In general, you've been quite disparaging of Magoon and his involvement, I think. You don't like a lot of the episodes, you don't like his directorial work. So has this perhaps persuaded you to rethink your opinion?
Well, it doesn't change my opinion on what came before, but this is by far his best work as a director and as an actor so far in Columbo, in my opinion.
Good. So you did enjoy it then?
I did.
Anything you want to say or discuss before we track on with this week's episode?
No, I don't think there's anything too dramatic. I mean, I know we're in episode 52, but I think technically 1 and 2 came out together, so we're not going to wait till next week to celebrate a year's worth.
Yes. Good point. Forgot all about that. Nearly a year. It feels like 10.
At least.
Okay, we can chat about that next week. So, if you don't have anything else to say, let's crack on with this week's summary.
In Agenda for Murder, we meet Oscar Finch, a top attorney with a brilliant legal mind. His friend Paul Mackey is the running mate for a strong presidential candidate, and Finch can see himself as Attorney General in years to come. All of that is threatened by Frank Staplin, a former associate who has found himself in deep legal trouble and needs a favour. When Staplin indicates his intention to reveal an earlier extra-legal intervention by Finch and Mackey, Oscar opts to kill him and stage a suicide. Columbo quickly pieces together a circumstantial case against Finch, but with an expert criminal defence lawyer under suspicion, only cast iron evidence will do. As the lieutenant looks for Finch to damn himself under questioning, we can only wait to see what the outcome will be.
Thank you for that non-cheesy summary, Ian. It's certainly given us something to get our teeth into.
Oh dear.
We mentioned it last week, so we won't labour the point, but again we start off with the Tonight on Columbo. Yeah. We start off with a downtown shot of LA,
I've had this a few times now in the new episodes. The most similar, I think, was Sex and the Mad Detective when we had the radio show playing.
Yeah. I think they're trying to expand the view of the perception. In the past, it was very much, you could see it coming from the stage. It was on a sort of closed set in the studio lot, and I think they're now just trying to make it feel wider, bigger, more of a TV movie.
I think also maybe more part of LA as well. You're seeing the city. You never really saw the city in the earlier episodes. It was set in LA, but the city wasn't a character in the show.
Mm-hmm. We have a score which is... Well, what is it? It's that sort of old-time campaigning political music, isn't it? The
sort of news broadcast theme tune. Yeah, we're learning that the primaries are 4 days away.
Yes. And that the governor has yet to choose his presidential running mate, but the favourite is Congressman Paul Mackey.
Yeah.
He's the local man, the local congressman.
Yeah, conveniently for the California primary.
And there is a mention of the Biltmore several times in this episode. We've discussed that before. I think it was the other, another Magoon one, Identity Crisis.
Was that where the Italian fellow was making his speech?
Might have been. We have certainly mentioned the Biltmore and how famous it is, and I think I said before about JFK basing his...
Yep, his presidential campaign. We talked about this, yep.
Mm-hmm. We go inside a car, and who do we meet?
Well, before we even go inside the car, you see a bumper sticker,
which
reads Montgomery for President.
Straight to the point.
And the radio's turned off inside or it gets turned off inside the car, and the man in the car is Oscar Finch.
Now, Oscar Finch is a lawyer by trade.
Criminal defence lawyer.
But he seems to be acting as the campaign manager for, or the personal manager of the congressman.
Certainly an advisor of some sort to Paul Mackey.
Senior aide, yeah, the right-hand man to Paul Mackey.
He places a phone call to Neil Laxton.
Mm-hmm.
And they're heading to the Biltmore because there's issues ahead of the primary to be sorted out.
But in this brief scene, as you say, when he's on the phone, we understand immediately he is a mover and a shaker, as Finch. He's making calls, he's very efficient.
He's pulling in favours.
So he's got power, he knows the people who you need to know.
He's also got questionable moral standards, we learn immediately. He's pulling in a particularly dicey sort of a favour, isn't he?
Mm-hmm. But that's politics.
Yeah, he's asking for money.
Yeah.
And he's telling Laxton that their mutual friend won't be forgotten.
No. I'm sure that's how all the deals are done in politics, isn't it? It's all...
I don't know, they've probably cleaned it up by now.
You think? I don't think so. So we arrive at the governor's suite at the Biltmore.
Yeah.
Mackey and Finch enter and are greeted by one of the aides to the governor, a Tim Haynes. It's a nervous time for Mackey as he anticipates being acknowledged as the official running mate of the governor. So it's not been signed and sealed at this point.
Yeah, he's optimistic, but it's not a done deal.
Mm-hmm. Finch, on the other hand, is more optimistic and more confident. He believes that it is a done deal.
Well, he perhaps has arranged for it to be a done deal.
Yeah. So the Mac and the governor have a chat on their own. I noted that they both seemed incredibly right-wing.
They're talking about American industries being sold off.
Mm-hmm.
And Montgomery challenges Mackey.
He does.
He wants to know if he writes his own speeches.
And he is startled for a few moments. But the governor assumes that he does. But I think we're led to believe, or we would understand, that it's probably Finch.
Yes. Interestingly enough, obviously, in his last appearance, McGowan also wrote speeches for other people.
He did, yes. For Vito Scotti.
Yeah. Yeah, Montgomery makes a joke of it. He doesn't even let Mackey respond, and he's glossing it over, and everything's fine, and he's going to offer him this running mate position.
He is. So Mackey's delighted. Finch enters to hear the good news before both he and Mackey leave. But we hear that Mackey has bigger plans.
He dreams of the presidency.
Mm-hmm. With Finch being provided with the position as Attorney General for his...
That's what he's looking for, and no doubt he's perfectly qualified for that. Whether Mackey's looking 8 years down the road or whether he thinks he can get rid of Montgomery, it's not made clear, but I got the impression it may well be the latter.
I agree. Before we leave this scene, we'll briefly mention two of the characters, because we don't see them a lot, but they're fairly well known. So, the governor's aide was played by Stanley Kamel. He died in 2008, aged just 65. He was known best to me, certainly, for his role in Monk, when he played Monk's psychiatrist. He's been in many things, including Days of Our Lives, Melrose Place, LA Law, Matlock, Cagney and Lacey, Hill Street Blues, Quincy, Mission Impossible, Star Trek, The Next Generation, and Murder 1. Now, I believe you used to watch Murder 1. Did you recognise him?
Yes, I mean, he's unmistakable.
Is he?
I was sad to learn that he died, because he wasn't that old, but
no.
He was an important character in Murder 1. I don't know if you've not
No,
watched
we've mentioned
it,
this before. I think I probably would enjoy it, but never seen it.
Yeah, we're going to act like season 2 of Murder 1 didn't exist, and we'll just talk about... I'm only talking about season 1. It was a season-long show featuring one court case. Yeah. So he was one of the witnesses in the case, and he was in it over a period of a number of episodes.
I might watch it. I wonder if there is any appetite for a Murder 1 podcast.
Oh, there might be. I think it had some fans. Certainly the lead man there was very popular.
He was, I know that. The governor, played by Arthur Hill, he died in 2006, aged 84. Now, although he died in 2006, this was his final TV movie.
Okay.
I think he'd starred in Where I Saw Him First, just after this. He was in the first 2 episodes, but the double pilot of Murder, She Wrote.
Right.
The Death of Sherlock Holmes. And he returned a few years later. He actually played the killer, spoiler there, in the first episode, the first 2 episodes, and the love interest of Jessica Fletcher.
There you go.
He was also in Owen Marshall, Counsellor at Law, The Defenders, The Moving Target, The Andromeda Strain, and he was a Tony winner.
Right.
So, talented man.
Absolutely.
We leave the governor's suite, and Finch heads home. And it's evening time now. He returns to his wife.
The phone rings.
It does. Who is it?
Frank.
Frank who?
There's been a few Franks. We had Frank Braley before, and we've got Frank Columbo.
Mm-hmm.
This one is Frank Staplin.
Yes. And it's accompanied by an ominous score, this phone call.
Yeah, in case we're not bright enough to pick up by ourselves what's going on.
We don't know exactly what's being requested, but we understand that Finch does not want to help this chap Frank out anymore.
Yeah, but then something is said and Finch looks a bit perturbed.
Yes. So he agrees to meet with him at his place in 45 minutes.
Yep. He lies to his wife, and then he makes to leave, but he needs to pick up some things first.
Yes. Before he does do that, we've got an extended close-up on McGowan.
Right.
Or Finch.
Yeah.
It's more than 1 or 2 seconds. And obviously he directed this, or not obviously, but he did direct this episode. So it's got his fingerprints all over it. Yeah, you mentioned he has to pick a few things up. What are those things?
Well, first of all, he takes some rubber gloves from the washing up gloves.
Mm-hmm.
And he folds up some tin foil.
Yep, some kitchen foil.
And it appears that he takes a couple of pairs of pliers.
True. And he heads to his own office.
Yeah.
So he parks the car as a storm threatens. And inside, he lays out the items of this murder kit.
Yep.
He then lights a broken cigar into an ashtray. So he breaks up one of his cigars, or a cigar, and sets it alight.
Yeah.
He then takes a gun from his safe and he cleans it down whilst wearing these gloves.
Yep.
He then removes a newspaper clipping regarding Staplin's legal trouble, and he places this into his pocket before removing the powder from a bullet and placing half of it into some foil.
He does that.
And he sets the other half alight.
On foil.
On foil. Then outside, he leaves and he puts the shell into the garbage before walking to Staplin's house.
Did this not remind you a little bit of another McGowan appearance?
Which one?
His very first appearance. The very first thing we see him do is taking what essentially is a giant bullet, emptying it out and changing what's inside it.
Yes, we do see him going through his process. There's an extended sequence of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, as I said, the same chap directing, so it's his style, isn't it?
Yeah, done in miniature here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well spotted. So we're now at Staplin's house. And before Finch arrives, we see him send a one-page fax to someone that we
don't know who.
Not at this point.
He looks quite pleased to see Oscar Finch.
Yes, but Finch is not happy about being there, especially when he hears that Staplin wants him to... But what does he want him to do?
Well, before he even asks him for a favour, he assures him that there's nobody about and that nobody will know he's been, which is critical. He's in serious trouble and he needs a favour. He needs a document to disappear.
Yes.
And Oscar won't help. So
No.
Frank offers him money.
But that's not enough.
Well, that's not. He doesn't need money. He doesn't need money that Frank can get anyway.
So Staplin applies some further pressure.
I'll see that you have any amount. Cash that can't be traced. Swiss cash. I'm asking you nicely, Oscar.
You don't get it, Frank. I have a family, I have a great big career, I have a future like you wouldn't believe. There's no way I'm going to risk any of that.
How's your buddy, the congressman? The word is he's going to be Montgomery's boy. You go way back. Wasn't he working in the DA's office when you did me that favor a long time ago? Your boy in the White House? Maybe, huh? A nice cabinet post for Oscar Finch, perhaps? Is that the big future?
That's not a nice way to talk, Frank.
If I go down 5 years, 6 months, 1 day, Oscar, I'm not going to be too happy with the man that let it happen.
Happy or sad, Frank, you can't prove a damn thing.
Who needs proof anymore? You know politics these days. I only have to mention your name and a certain little incident that happened back in 1969. And you and your buddy are dead ducks in Washington.
Oscar doesn't take too kindly to that suggestion.
He doesn't. He almost immediately pulls out the gun and shoots Stapleton dead.
Yep.
Stapleton slumps forward, and we see a spot of blood hit the floor before Finch sets down a piece of cheese that he picked up from Stapleton's table.
Yeah, he'd taken a bite out of this little piece of cheese and he puts it back on a plate, which I think, why not just eat the cheese? Eat the cheese. Nobody knows you were there.
Is that your advice to every murderer? Eat the cheese.
It's advice that Columbo would give.
Mm-hmm. Don't touch the cheese. Don't touch any food.
Yeah.
Don't touch anything that you...
You've gone in there. He wasn't even wearing his gloves when he touched the cheese. Does cheese not hold fingerprints?
Don't know.
Anyway.
Dust my cheese. That's what Columbo should be telling the lab guys. Dust the cheese.
Exactly.
Sorry.
Something here annoyed me because Oscar places a clipping from a newspaper talking about Stapleton's legal troubles in front of him.
Yes.
Is that not a bit obvious? Why would he take a clipping of his own legal troubles and sit there looking at the clip? Why would he just have the paper if he was going to read about it?
Yeah. It is fairly obvious and fairly, contrived.
It's not mentioned by the police.
No.
Anyway, he cleans his gun down and puts it into Frank's hand, and then blows the gunpowder from his tinfoil onto the back of his hand.
That was a nice touch.
Very smart. The gun gets dropped to the floor, carelessly.
Yes.
He hasn't been careful enough here.
It wasn't the dropping that was careless, it was the timing of the drop.
And where it landed. If it didn't land on the blood, there's not a...
Yes, but he was making sure it landed where it would have landed.
Yeah.
So,
but he didn't check that the blood was there. He didn't see the blood being there. It was not as precise as you would think he would be, given the effort he's put into everything else. I felt.
Although, he does come up with an explanation later in the episode, which we can discuss at that point.
Anyway, he cleans down the table for anything he's touched, and any bits and pieces like his tinfoil and stuff. And he goes to leave, but the storm has picked up.
Yes, we heard that during the clip there, as the thunder and the lightning came in. It created a nice atmosphere, and I think this episode does have a fairly... It's an atmospheric episode, I thought.
I wouldn't disagree with that at all. I thought it was done quite well.
So he leaves, and as you say, it's raining.
Yep.
And disposes of the remaining items, the gloves, etc., in a nearby trash can.
Well, that's silly. Well, we don't know if it's nearby, because he's walking all the way to his office, so it could be quite far away. But
true, but I would not have disposed of them anywhere in the path between...
Yeah.
It's Hansel and Gretel stuff there, isn't it? Leaving a trail to...
Absolutely. He gets back to his office, and the cigar's all burned up, so he goes to flush them away. Yeah,
there was a little bit I was confused about here. You see him at first empty the cigar ash down the toilet.
Yeah.
But then he walks through with something in the ashtray.
Yeah, so what he's done is he's got rid of the excess because he burned up everything in the dish, but he's left what would be there if you were stubbing out your cigar.
Okay, that makes sense. Sure.
I like the fact that the toilet was up on a step. It was like a foot higher than the rest of the bath.
Yeah.
Or half a foot. He gets himself dried off after that and goes to leave. It's 9 minutes past 2 in the morning.
It is.
I think I interrupted you about to do some trivia there. I'm sorry, did I?
No, well, I mean, we'll finish this scene and I'll go back.
Okay.
He leaves by his car, which we see him driving from the car park. Now, in the first watch, you probably wouldn't have picked up on it, but what we do see is that there is a dry space has been left.
Yeah, the rain's now stopped.
Frank Stapleton was played by Louis Zorich, born in 1924, still with us. He has appeared in Fiddler on the Roof, Death of a Salesman, Mad About You, Brooklyn Bridge. He was Tony nominated in 1969, and Just for You, Ian, he is the uncle of former Chicago Bears linebacker Chris Zorich. But that was the 80s and early 90s, so...
Yeah.
It was just on the off chance that he was some legend.
No, not really.
Never heard of him?
No.
Fine. Stapleton's house is now the crime scene. It's the next morning.
Yeah, Kramer's there.
He is, and it is Kramer this time.
He was Kramer last time.
It wasn't Kramer the last time.
How do you know?
He wasn't credited as Kramer.
So, we know it's Kramer.
No, we don't.
How do we know? Do you have the same actor playing different parts?
Yeah. Do you want to talk about Burke?
That's different actors playing the same part. It's the complete opposite.
It's not. It might be the opposite, but
Why would Bruce Kirby not be Kramer when he's been Kramer every other
why
time?
would you have two different actors playing the same character?
You don't. There's just two characters with the same surname.
It's not. Right. And it is Kramer on this occasion.
Okay.
Kramer is giving orders as Columbo calls for him, and he's asking for advice on this fax machine. Kramer can't help him.
Yeah, Columbo's intrigued by both the fax machine and by the cheese.
He is. He is firstly told, however, that Staplin's wife is in Hawaii.
Yeah.
She got no answer when she tried to call.
Well, we heard that. We didn't mention it here, but when Finch was leaving, the phone was ringing.
Yes. So she got worried and called the local cop or security chap.
Security fellow who found the body. Talking of the body, did you not think it was odd it was still there while they were doing all this? You normally see the body being taken away when Columbo arrives at a scene.
I suppose it depends how quickly Columbo gets onto the scene. Yeah.
But it seems a bit weird that they're poking around all the different evidence while the body's just lying there in the background. I found it a bit weird and a bit creepy.
Yeah. You'd have thought they might have dealt with that immediately and removed it for, not just to remove it from the scene, but to immediately, I suppose the longer the body decays, the less they can potentially get from it.
I suppose from a story point of view, it's so Columbo can see that the gun was where it would have fallen.
Of course.
But it seems a bit out of sync with the other crime scenes that we've had in the past.
So, we've mentioned the cheese a few times already.
It came up in their opening clip.
It did. This was one of the only points, I think, that I was a little bit irritated. That opening shot where he sniffs the table like a dog to get to the cheese, which is quite clearly in front of him. It's only because the camera you can't see it in the camera that there would be any surprise. He's no need to act like dog or cat
That reminds me
or
actually.
mouse.
It reminded me very much of a scene in the recent Jurassic World movie. There's no cheese in that, as far as I'm aware. But you had two folk, and you had the camera pointing at them, and one of them's going, "Where's all the dinosaurs?" And then the camera panned round, and there's hundreds of them right in front of them.
Yeah. It's just, it's lazy editing or directing, isn't it?
Yeah, there was no way they weren't able to see them.
Yeah. So not only did it annoy me that he was sniffing around this piece of cheese, he then takes a knife out and he cuts a slice. And even Kramer suggests that this is a silly thing to do, or an unprofessional thing to do. This is evidence. There's a body sitting right beside it.
Imagine he'd eaten the piece that was on the plate.
Yeah. Oh, we won't touch the cheese. It's been used. No, the whole block might be contaminated, might be poisoned. It could be anything.
Yeah.
Don't start cutting up dead man's cheese.
No, dead man's cheese is best left alone. I think that's a motto for life.
It is. It's like One-Eyed Willie in the Goonies. Don't touch Willie's stuff. Anyone else's, but don't touch Willie's stuff or dead man cheese.
Yeah, dead man cheese.
Yeah.
Do not touch.
Eat your cheese. Dust my cheese. Don't touch dead man cheese. That's the...
Do you think if you were murdered there'd be cheese on the scene?
Yeah, plenty of it. A brie, Wensleydale.
Massive pot of Stilton.
I love Stilton. I told you that the other day, didn't I?
Yeah.
I made myself sick because it was a knockdown price and I bought a ton of it.
Had to eat it before it went off.
Felt obliged to. Realised you couldn't really freeze it. I felt dreadful.
I'm not surprised.
Anyhow.
Columbo does spot a issue here.
Which is?
That there was blood under the gun, but none had dripped on top of the gun.
Yes. Now that is very perceptive.
Very, very perceptive. How did he know it was any under the gun?
Mm-hmm, exactly. And Columbo asks that the lab guys work out the drying time for
blood on this type of floor.
Yeah, in this heat and environment.
It's a very specific request. Mm-hmm. I mean, okay, he probably needs to give that, but he doesn't normally. We don't normally hear that.
We don't normally. Now, just a moment before, they were basically agreeing that it was suicide. So this is a massive... He's went from, it looks like a suicide, to, no, I now know this is murder. It's a little bit of Columbo magic. I mean, in fairness, there is a bit of detective work there.
Yeah, a wee bit.
But he was very fortunate.
It's not the worst bit of Columbo magic in the episode.
No, okay, we can discuss that when it arrives.
Okay.
We go out to the garden, and Columbo speaks with Staplin's secretary, who is quite obviously distraught.
Well, she identified the body,
mm-hmm.
so she's upset about that, but Columbo wants her help with something. he thinks that she can show him how the fax machine works.
Yes. Did you not think that's a little bit odd? It's not if it was a computer in 1990, you may be thinking, yeah, well, but a fax machine, it's not.
The thing that I thought was odd that they decided to put in a detailed description of how fax machines work at the top of the next moment. Like when she goes into the fax shop.
Facsimile.
Monocle.
But surely police offices must use fax machines.
I don't know about the dates about fax machines when they came.
Oh, certainly before 1990.
I would have thought it was earlier than that, because even in Back to the Future 2,
of course,
made in 86.
No, 89.
89. Well, it's before this.
Yeah.
And the fax machines then.
No, fax machines were certainly around. What I'm saying is that if all the sort of businesses and offices, you think that a fax machine would be getting used all the time by police offices around the country, sending information.
He seems amazed at this idea. And yet he can work out other things that are completely unintuitive. It doesn't make sense to me, this scene. And I think even if you're going to have Columbo not understanding fax machines, you don't need to have a 5-minute explanation in the episode.
What he discovers is that the last document was sent by Stapleton at 12:27 a.m. to his wife in Hawaii.
12:37, I must have noted that wrong.
And he also notices that it was the first of 2 pages. So he didn't send the second page.
No.
He must have been interrupted.
Possibly.
Not only does Columbo want the secretary to explain facsimile machines, he also has to have a demonstration on this fantastic piece of equipment.
The telephone.
And how the redial feature works.
I mean, I was annoyed enough about the fax machine. This was absurd.
Yeah, redial. It's one button, isn't it?
It can dial the last number it dialed.
Yeah.
What will they think of next?
So, of course, Columbo dials it and it goes through.
It solves the crime.
It does, basically. Solves the crime. It goes to Finch's home telephone number. So, Columbo obviously has to pop over there and have a chat.
He does.
But Finch isn't there. Who is?
His wife.
And she seems quite unhelpful.
Well, she knows about the call. Her husband took the call. She doesn't know what was said, and he's out.
She suggests that Columbo will go ask him.
Absolutely.
So he does.
Yeah.
We're at Finch's office. And Columbo parks very conveniently in Finch's dry space.
This is annoying, because we're expected to believe that in the presumably at least 9 or 10 hours since the storm stopped, that space has remained dry and everything else has remained damp, despite Finch's car not being there.
In LA, which I imagine is quite warm.
It looked fairly bright.
We do hear a version of This Old Man.
Yeah, it was quite good. It was kind of woven into the tune that was going on. It was good.
Louise, the office manager.
She has a problem.
Well, I thought there was going to be another...
Murder of Smoke and Shadows type?
No.
Peck.
Mrs. Peck.
Okay.
I thought that was going to be the dynamic through the episode, but...
No, not so much.
No.
She was a lovely lady.
Yeah, she ticks him off initially.
Yeah, she doesn't like the smell of the cigar smoke, and she's spraying this fancy air freshener, which also amazes Columbo, who's quite easily amazed in this episode.
She tells him that someone had smoked a cigar last night in Finch's office before inviting Columbo to wait for Finch, who promptly arrives and demands that, what?
Well, I don't know, I can't remember the exact words, but he's complaining about Columbo's rust bucket being in his space.
The decomposing rat trap.
There you go.
He's telling Louise to get it towed.
Columbo perks up at this and interjects.
Yes. Columbo IDs himself as Finch dictates a schedule to Louise in a very efficient manner.
Very, very efficient.
Columbo is suitably impressed.
Yeah, and he's invited into Finch's office.
And he is impressed and dazzled for a second time by Finch outlining why he knew to expect Columbo.
Now, Lieutenant, you're here to talk to me about the death of Frank Stapleton. I can give you just 5 minutes.
You astonish me, sir.
I don't see why. I'm familiar with procedure. At approximately 11:15 last night, I received a call from Mr. Stapleton. I understand from the news this morning that he died during the night, which regrettably means that one of the last calls he made in his life was to me. As soon as I heard the news, I realized that although his death was being called a suicide, it was of a violent nature, that is by gunshot, and part of the standard procedure of investigation would certainly include interviews with the last persons the victim saw or spoke to. I also know that the phone company will have supplied you with a list of his final calls, so that my number will be among them someplace. In what order, I can't say. And if he called from his house, you would have a record of that too, and I would expect someone from the police to be around to see me. My only surprise is how soon you got here.
I learned one very important lesson this morning, Mr. Finch.
What's that?
Never bet on your opposition in court.
I enjoyed that.
Very efficient.
Finch claims not to have known Stapleton, but that he called asking for representation, which he turned down, and because of this he now feels some sort of guilt.
Yeah, he worries that he's driven him to suicide by leaving him in a hopeless position.
They walk to Finch's car now.
They do, but only Finch leaves.
And he makes the trope mistake of offering further assistance should it be required to Columbo. And Columbo doesn't need any second invitation.
No,
does he?
that's him, he's in.
Columbo returns to the office to ask about the spray, and at the same time he sneaks a peek at the business card of a Dr. Menton.
Yeah, I don't know what that was all about.
No, I'm trying to think. Did that come back up?
No.
I'm not wrong, am I? It was Dr. Menton.
It was something like that. It was Doctor something.
Yeah.
I don't know if the card was meant to be important or just the fact that Columbo was now sniffing around Finch, but...
No, it would be an odd scene to put in it, especially because the camera focused on the name.
It did.
Have I missed something here?
Well, you could check in your cast list for the trivia. Was there a Dr. Menton on it?
No, there wasn't.
So-
Odd. Maybe it was a deleted scene. Louise. Did you recognise her?
No.
You should do.
Should I do? What was she in before?
I'll get to that. She was played by Anne Haney, died in 2001, age 67. She has been in Curb Your Enthusiasm, Liar Liar, Elia Law, Matlock, Father Dowling, Hill Street Blues, Star Trek Next Generation, and Murder One.
Who did she play Murder
Don't
One?
know, haven't noted that. But it was in episode 22 or 23, so would that have been the second?
Oh, that's a good point. I'm not sure.
Ah, that's for another podcast.
Yeah, we'll come back to it in Murder One podcast episode 22. Columbo heads to the Biltmore.
He does.
We're not sure again about time passing.
No, I think it's that day.
Later that day, we don't know. How long has he been back in the office? What's Finch been up to? Anyway, Finch is there.
He's rehearsing a speech in the ballroom.
And Columbo wants to know what was said on the phone when he spoke to the victim.
Yeah, it's a sort of one more thing.
Yeah.
Finch said that he sounded desperate.
Yes, he said something along the lines of, "What the hell am I going to do? What the hell am I going to do? Jesus."
He did. He said, "What the hell am I going to do?" twice, and then that word. That's what Columbo says.
Yes.
I think being probably a good Italian Catholic, he doesn't like to take the Lord's name in vain.
No, not even when he's quoting somebody else.
No. Columbo then asks about his late night meeting.
Well, it's a one more thing.
It is.
He asks about the meeting. Was it before or after dinner? So Finch chuckles because he likes Columbo's approach and he kind of dodges the question.
Yeah, I think he's quite impressed. He realises Columbo is not... He doesn't think he's a worthy adversary, but he...
He's not a dumpling.
No, he's not a dumpling. I think he sees him as a little sort of tenacious little dog. You know, that way where you see like a little Jack Russell or a Yorkshire biting at your ankles. You know it's not a threat, but you're reasonably impressed with it. At least trying.
Yeah, and I think at one point he says about him to Mackie that he's just doing his job, which is probably something that he can respect as a profession.
Yes. What he actually laughs at is that Columbo asks if the meeting was with Stapleton.
No, he doesn't ask that. He asks if it was before or after dinner. And Finch acts as though he is implying that Columbo was trying to find out if it was with Stapleton. So his response is, "I've never met Stapleton."
Yeah, he said, "I've already said twice, but good try."
Yeah.
A little bit like my favourite scene with Death Lends a Hand in the car, where he tries to catch him out and
That wasn't Death Lends a Hand, that was...
you're right.
Double Exposure?
Yes. Robert Culp Enemy.
Yeah,
in the
it was
car.
Robert Culp,
You're
yeah.
correct. We head back to Finch's house.
Yeah. Finch pulls away in his car. He's also been home for something. And he sees Columbo parked a little bit down the street and Columbo flags him down.
Yeah, why? as Columbo, why would you do that? Why would you wait on the street and flag him down?
He maybe doesn't know which one's his house.
You could find that out.
No, he's been there. He went and spoke to
Of
the
course
wife.
he has, and he could also find it out. He's a cop.
It's maybe just his way of catching the guy off guard where he's not ready to answer a question.
Yeah, but you're taking a little risk there. I mean, he might not pull over for you. He might
He's not
wave
lost
and-
anything if he doesn't pull over.
True, but I think it's an odd strategy. You just tap the guy's door and say, I've got a question for you.
Yeah, I mean, the question he's got to ask was the obvious follow-up to what he asked the previous night.
Which was,
Who was the meeting with?
yes, Finch uses the client confidentiality get out, doesn't he?
Yeah, lawyer-client privilege.
But he confirms that both of them drove to the office, his office, for
Yeah,
this meeting.
which, due to the unnaturally slow drying patterns of the car park, has exposed him as a liar.
Mm-hmm.
Columbo has a further question because Finch's wife reported only one phone call and Finch now insists there were two. One
Yes.
with Stapleton and one with the person he met.
Mm-hmm. But he has a very reasonable explanation.
Well, because Columbo doesn't understand technology, you could befuddle him quite convincingly here, even with a non-perfect explanation, but it's fine. He's got a call waiting service, which presumably Columbo can check.
Mm-hmm.
And the second call came through while he was on the line, so he didn't have to hang up to take it.
Correct. Columbo appears very satisfied and delighted with this answer as Finch screeches off in his car.
Yeah, he does this a second time later on.
Yeah.
He pulls away with tyres squealing.
Yeah, liked it.
I take it that's meant to be a top of the range car for the day. I don't remember cars at the early 90s. We had a Sierra, I think,
Right.
at that
Yeah,
point.
no, that would have looked like a BMW 5 or 6 series, yeah.
Yeah.
We're outside the court now.
Yes, and Finch is discussing, or his team are discussing his performance. So
It's
obviously
successful.
He's surrounded by sycophants
Of course.
because they know that he's the big man on campus.
He must be feeling quite, the adrenaline must be pumping. He's won another case. He's on top of the world.
Yeah.
Columbo appears and explains he has a problem.
Yet again, there's a problem.
Yes. What he wants to know is why a desperate man, as described by Finch himself, would kill himself between sending jokes via fax to his wife.
Finch has the perfect response that I wish people had been giving back in the old series.
Which is,
If you solve the mysteries of the suicidal man, you're a smarter man than I, Lieutenant. Yes!
yes, that's true. But before that, Columbo reads out one of these jokes, and I think that
I love
Finch, his reaction is brilliant. McGowan's reaction is brilliant as an actor, but also I think as a way of trying to, firstly, stall and delay, and potentially distract from the question itself.
Yes, so he initially has no reaction, and then he acts as if he's thought about it and gives out a loud, ha!
Yeah.
And then he collapses into uncontrollable laughter.
Mm-hmm. I liked it. I liked the scene.
It was good. It was nicely done. And then he squeals his tyres and drives off again.
He does. And we're heading to Mackie's office.
We are. There's a tripod being set up for a TV interview or a statement of some kind.
Yeah, with the congressman, who decides to give Columbo a few minutes.
Yo, Columbo persuades the aide to ask, and Mackie's invited in, and Columbo goes to light his cigar.
Mm-hmm. As he's sitting on a chair. And there's a nod, I can't remember which episode, but he does mention about, is this an antique chair? And he says yes. So the last time I sat in one of those, I nearly broke it. I'm trying to think what episode it was.
I don't remember a chair breaking.
No, it wasn't. The chair didn't break,
Right.
but I think he mistook.
Was it old-fashioned murder maybe or something like that?
Could be. Perhaps one of the listeners can remind us.
No doubt someone will know for sure.
But yeah, you mentioned he goes to use a lighter. What is?
Mackie asks him not to smoke.
Yep, which is significant.
Yeah.
Columbo mentions Stapleton, and Mackie admits that he has heard of him.
Yeah, but he's not aware of any relationship between Stapleton and Finch.
Columbo then describes Finch's connection with Stapleton.
Yeah, Mackie doesn't know anything about it.
Nope. Denies any knowledge or any prior connections between them. Columbo seems happy enough with this, and there is one more thing.
Yeah, this is weird.
What is it?
Columbo wants him to sign an autograph for Mrs. Columbo.
Yeah.
Is politicians' autographs a thing?
I think if he is potentially going to be the president, might be a thing if you're into autographs in the first place.
Suppose. I never really got the whole autographs thing, even as a kid. I don't understand what was it for.
Doesn't interest me.
Especially if you weren't there to get it yourself. Buying an autograph.
Yeah, well, I think if you're buying it, it's a lot of the time it's for money, isn't it? It's an investment, you're thinking. It might be worth something.
Yeah, really.
But no, yeah, people's scrawls on a bit of paper.
I mean, even folk would buy like autograph books with the whole of the 1986 New York Yankees starting rotation. It's like, well,
Like it's a hobby, isn't it? Well, that's what you're into.
I never got it. I never understood the appeal.
I suppose it's like bird spotting, isn't it? Really, it's not so much that when you see a bird, you could say, oh well, you've just saw a bird. What's the point? It's not like there's no physical benefit to you. It's not like playing a sport or doing something else. You don't. It's like or train spotting. You see a train or a bird and you go, oh, there's one. It's the act, isn't it, of checking them off, creating a list.
Yeah.
Collecting them.
Yeah, it's the other one that's similar is that folk who go to conventions and get their photograph taken, queue for an hour to get a selfie with a celebrity.
No. Although if they're, a few years ago I would have probably queued to get a photograph with Peter Falk.
Yeah, but I'd rather spend that 30 seconds just saying, hi, how you doing, how's things?
Yeah, you would do both, but wouldn't you? You would queue and you'd say, hi, how you doing, any chance of a little snap.
Ian McKellen actually talked about this in an interview fairly recently, but he wished folk would just come and talk to him rather than try and take his photo. He hates it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I can understand where he's coming from.
Yeah.
Later on, Finch arrives.
Yes. Mackie's not happy.
No, Columbo's left by now, but they talk about him. This is where Finch says he's just doing his job.
Yeah, I mean, Mackie's rightly concerned at this stage in his career, going for the presidency.
Yeah.
Anything at all, as we know.
Yeah, I mean, the point of this scene is to develop the relationship between Mackie and Finch, which I liked.
Mm-hmm.
There's no new information for the viewer in this scene. We don't learn anything.
No.
But we do get to see these two men together working like you would expect to see.
Yes, and we understand that Mackie has a trust in Finch, places this trust, because Finch is able to put at rest his fears.
And I think they both know that either can bring the other down with the knowledge that they have.
Yeah, they're certainly a team.
They're stuck together.
Mm. We go to a hotel. I'm not sure if it's the Biltmore this time.
Well, I'm not certain, but it's later still, I think the same day, and Columbo catches Mackie in a hallway with one question.
Yes. What's that?
No, because he refers to the earlier conversation as the other day here, so I don't think it's the same day. I'm correcting myself.
Okay. What's the question?
In the previous conversation, he referred to Staplin's relationship with Finch, and he asked Mackie about that, but now he's asking Mackie about his own relationship with Staplin.
And he categorically denies any suggestion that he knew anything about him.
At this point, Columbo confirms that they know Staplin was murdered.
Yes, it's now no longer a suicide, it's a homicide.
And he's got one more question.
He wants Mackie to attempt to get the autograph of the governor.
For Mrs. Columbo.
Yeah.
I kept thinking, is there an angle to this? Is he going to use these autographs? Is it going to... No. Nope, they don't come up again.
I think what he might be doing, and it might be quite smart, he is effectively reminding Mackie that him and Mrs. Columbo are voters.
Well, perhaps.
And it's a bit like being a customer, isn't it? They're always right, so he's...
You have to be nice to me.
Have to be nice to me. If we badmouth you, it's not just our votes, we could, you could lose quite a few here. So
that's quite smart, yeah. That could happen.
Paul Mackie was played by a Dennis Arndt. A-R-N-D-T. One of those ones with not enough vowels, yeah. He was born in 1939. He has been in Basic Instinct, LA Law, Murder, She Wrote, Providence, Metro, and SWAT.
It's a decent list of appearances.
It's okay. Where do we go now?
Oh, this annoyed me.
Why?
Well, Columbo's outside, he's walking between various locations and timing himself.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems to have... I mean, we know what he must be doing, but there was no lead into it.
No.
We suddenly jumped from him talking to Mackie, and now he knows what's happened and he's pacing out the murderer's walk.
I suppose, but he noticed right at the beginning when he parked at the...
Yeah, but the car being... It must have been there, so he couldn't have got there by car, so if it was him that got there, he must have done it a different way.
Mm-hmm.
But they could maybe have tied that in nicer. They could maybe have had a question or a mention in the previous scene or something that made it... Because I think, we sit and take notes on this for a casual viewer that maybe wouldn't necessarily...
I do.
I take notes every now and then.
Let me see them.
Every third scene.
You've got about 5 notes.
That's just because I have to scroll down to get the next lot.
Okay.
Anyway, he's walking in. Obviously, he's timing the walk from Finch's office to the murder scene at Staplin's house.
And he bumps into a Columbo trope, a laundry person.
We've seen a few of these. We talked about this the last time it came up.
Yeah, I think this is about the 5th time, perhaps.
Yeah, but this one can't help because he asks them, are the Finch's clients? And they're like, nah.
Nope, and this guy tries to be a bit of a joker, doesn't he? This is meant to be a comical scene. It's okay.
Yeah, it doesn't do anything for me.
So he goes to the laundrette, a different laundrette.
Yeah, he's now discovered who the Finch's dry cleaners actually are, which is very good detective work.
Amir, the owner, produces one of Finch's suits that was picked up from his home.
Yeah.
Columbo, for the second time in the episode, starts sniffing.
Overly aggressively. He doesn't need his face in the suit to find out if it smells of cigars.
Before noting that the trousers were wet.
Rain damage.
He asks Amir for a favour.
He pulls him to one side.
Yeah, which he didn't need to pull him to one side, did he? Really?
No, and it was a careless error.
Yes. So he wants to borrow the suit.
Yeah, it's going to be evidence.
Yeah. Amir agrees, but by the time they get back to the suit...
Yeah, one of Amir's colleagues has washed or dry cleaned it. So Columbo's frustrated.
We're back at Finch's office, and Columbo gives Louise a thank you note from Mrs. Columbo for the air freshener.
It's very nice of him. He talks about a whole different aroma at home.
Yeah. He asks for advice from Finch.
Yes, he queries whether Finch has a gun, which Finch knows he knows the answer to already. And it's the same caliber as the murder weapon, but something's puzzling Columbo.
Yes. He demos his problem regarding the blood and how it got underneath the gun.
Yeah, it's a very rough demonstration. It's not really accurate in any way, but it gets the point.
Finch suggests a solution.
Fascinating. Yes, sir. But not beyond explanation.
You mean that there's some way that could have happened?
Did Stapleton have arthritis?
Arthritis?
In the hands?
Oh, I don't know, sir.
Well, check it out.
Oh, yeah.
In the finger joints. If there was a certain amount of calcification in the finger joints, it could have delayed their extension before the spasm.
Spasm?
Oh, yes. Invariably, there's a spasm or a digestive quiver that occurs after other bodily functions have ceased and before the onset of rigor mortis.
So you mean that the gun could have dangled on his finger with the arthritis, delaying it from dropping until this spasm or quiver shook it off sometime later?
Precisely put.
And that would explain how the blood had time to dry.
Possibly.
Brilliant, sir. I wouldn't have thought of that in a million years.
Well, of course, there might be another explanation. That was just a conjectural analysis.
I can't imagine a better one than that, sir.
I wouldn't hesitate to use it in a court of law.
No wonder you charge such high fees. The information that you just gave me is priceless.
Yeah, Columbo's delighted, but unless Finch knows that Stapleton did have arthritis, then he's taking a chance.
Absolutely, but I can only assume he did know that.
But I wouldn't have thought he would have. He's not a close friend.
It's a strange one then, because that can be easily... Well, I suppose the point he's making is that there's always another answer.
Yeah, but there might be one other answer which can then be disproved. And Columbo says, nope, he didn't have arthritis. What's next?
Yeah. Columbo delivers a great double-edged line at the end of the scene. He says, I'll never forget the help you gave me here tonight. Presumably he's referring to Finch talking too much.
Yes.
But Finch won't take it that way.
As Columbo leaves, we see Finch place a piece of gum into his mouth.
Yep, very dodgy looking. Gum chewer.
We're back to Mackie's office.
Finch is there.
He's been summoned by the feel of it.
Yeah, well, Mackie's got a bit of insight into this case.
Well, it's now they want to discuss the development, which is now a murder case.
Yeah, but Columbo didn't tell Finch that.
No.
He only told Mackie. So when Mackie tells Finch, it's news to him.
He has to come clean and admit what he done and why he did it.
Yeah, he says he's not worried. He doesn't really rate Columbo's skills. He's not worried about him finding out.
He insists that Columbo's bluffing. He has nothing.
Yeah. But I suspect from this conversation that he's going to use Mackie as his alibi at the meeting. And I've noted Columbo knows that Mackie doesn't like smoke.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Well, that's how the scene ends. Mackie asks Finch what his alibi is, and he's not happy with the pause.
Yeah, no, not at all.
We're back to the Biltmore Ballroom.
Yep, they're setting up for the primaries. You know, they want to win in California, and then it's on to Chicago, and let's win there.
Yep, Columbo's there, and Finch explains that he has info for him. And as such, he's going to help him by breaking an oath. Something he never does, but
Conveniently will on this occasion. Yeah. He doesn't want to be suspected, and he names Mackie
yes,
as the man who attended the meeting. Mackie shows up.
he does.
Well, actually, Mackie shows up just before the confirmation, before Finch says.
Yeah, a nice bit of a dramatic entrance.
Yeah, and he confirms the position. He assumes that Finch has already said, and he has the governor's autograph for Mrs. Columbo.
Yes, that was it's a nice play here. So he is giving him this information, but asking for complete discretion. So he's effectively trying to silence him.
Yeah, I mean, you get the impression that these guys are skilled political operators. They're not half-wits just kind of dancing around.
Well, that's the thing. That's one of the strengths of this episode. I think the performances by both of these actors, entirely believable in their roles.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I like them both.
We go to Finch's office.
This seems stupid.
Why?
Well, Columbo is looking for something in the bin.
Mm-hmm. The other secretary, Diane, or
She's getting changed.
we'll call her Helen.
Yeah, let's call her Helen. I've put Diane, question mark. She's changing clothes. Columbo roots around in the bin and finds something.
Yeah, he finds the piece of gum.
Yeah, no, I assumed it was the ash or something. I thought, well, why would that still be there?
Yeah.
But no, it's the piece of gum, which he doesn't need in any way.
We'll talk about that
Later.
Yeah. Diane is getting ready because she's going to the primary celebration night.
Yeah, they're expecting
A
a good result for Montgomery, and they're going to show up and shout and scream and enjoy it.
Mm-hmm. So we head over to the Biltmore suite. Mackie appears and he is raging that Columbo wants a chat. He thought
This was dealt with.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he doesn't think he would have to speak to Columbo, and Columbo insists they go somewhere private.
Mm-hmm. Mackie then claims that he quit smoking 3 weeks ago, until Columbo mentions the meeting with Finch, and he has to backtrack.
Yeah, I think this was okay. I think he covered it quite nicely. He lapses in private. He's got this public face, but
Yeah, famously, Richard Branson was a massive, or it might be to this day, still a massive smoker, but he certainly was back in the 70s and 80s.
Mm-hmm.
But he made it a point of never ever being caught on camera or in public smoking. He didn't like the image.
yeah, I think it's reasonable.
Mm-hmm. Mackie then also states that both he and Finch arrived and left at the same time on the night of the meeting.
Yeah, and he's got no recollection of the rain.
No, they both parked in the car lot outside the office.
Yeah,
Columbo then brings up the 1969 scandal, and
this made me angry.
why?
Because you've got this whole point of this murder is that it's to cover this up. It's something that can only come out if Stapleton points people towards it.
Yeah.
And yet Columbo's dug around for 5 minutes and he's discovered it.
Yeah. So Columbo asks him some questions about it, and Mackie's starting to struggle to keep up with the lies.
Yeah.
Mr. Finch claims he never met Mr. Stapleton either.
So you told me.
But it turns out that 21 years ago, Mr. Finch worked for the law firm that represented Mr. Stapleton.
He was a junior partner at the time. I doubt very much if he'd have been assigned a case of such importance.
In 1969, Frank Stapleton was in bad trouble and he needed a big favor. And I think he got friendly with the ambitious Mr. Finch, and they made a deal. But Mr. Finch needed help in the district attorney's office. A person who had access to the evidence that had to be destroyed in order to save Mr. Stapleton. You were Mr. Finch's best friend. You were that person.
You can't have proof of this. The little house you've built's floating on thin air.
That's right. But it's a house made entirely of glass. And you're inside. And you can't get out. If I were you, I wouldn't perjure myself for Mr. Oscar Finch.
That's a heck of a metaphor Columbo's got going on there.
Yeah.
I think he's alluding to people in glass houses and the throwing of stones.
Yeah, you've been trapped. You're trapped inside a...
It's shrinking, and there's a man with a monocle.
Cleaver! Uni-cleaver. Yeah. What's his name? Harry Chudnow? Harry Chudnow.
We move back to the ballroom hall area, and Columbo's up on the stage.
Yeah, it's a busy place. Celebration party is taking place. Finch is shaking hands, and he invites Columbo to join him for a drink.
Yeah, they have a sort of inaudible conversation.
Yeah, across the crowded, their eyes meet. They do the world, the universally accepted sign for a drink, don't they? Where they
Yeah.
wave their wrist at each other.
And they leave the hall.
Mm-hmm.
Columbo's carrying a suit from a dry cleaner's.
He explains that it is his suit.
Well, not yet he doesn't. Because first of all he asks Finch to join him in a room to have a chat, and Finch won't do it.
No.
Finch says it's not the night for that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then, as he goes to leave and rejoin the party, Columbo points out that it's Finch's suit.
This gets his attention.
Yeah, and they go to the room.
Columbo then comes straight out with it and says that he thinks he did it.
Finch is disappointed.
Mm-hmm.
He thought Columbo would actually try to have proof before he would do something like that.
Yeah. Columbo asks initially when Finch got the suit wet, and he unsuccessfully tries to answer this. Columbo explains why his response doesn't make any sense and how he knows that Mackie lied.
Yeah, but at this point Columbo can't prove the suit was wet.
What do you mean?
Well, it's been dry cleaned.
Yes, but he could get the testimony, surely, of the laundry owner who says, yep, that was definitely... He'd have no reason to lie. Expert witness.
Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Dicey.
Columbo then describes why he killed Stapleton.
Yeah, he goes through the narrative. He mentions the one dry parking spot, and he tells the story of how he thinks the murder happened.
Mm-hmm.
And the response from Finch is to call it uncorroborated, circumstantial, poppycock.
He does, before leaving.
That bit was on Tonight on Columbo at the start.
Yeah. What I should have said there, Finch says that Columbo would require evidence or proof of him being at the scene of the crime, which he does not have.
Finch leaves the room,
Mm-hmm.
and the party continues, but Kramer's there.
Yes. Again, quite busy. Kramer struggles to get to Columbo, but he hands him a document.
It's a warrant
An arrest warrant.
for Finch.
Yes.
He wants to take him in for questioning.
Mm-hmm. So they get into a meeting room.
They do, and they present the evidence.
Finch wants the farce over and reiterates his innocence and the fact that he has never met with Stapleton.
That's correct.
Columbo produces the gum that he retrieved from his trash can.
Yep.
And he then explains that it's possible to identify teeth marks.
He produces a journal with a case, but this was done recently. The
Yes.
Ted Bundy case, was it?
Yep, and it's the chief, the police chief annual, police chief monthly or something like that magazine. Finch does not see how this helps, as the gum was not at the scene of the crime.
No.
But Columbo explains what it does mean and what was at the scene of the crime.
Fascinating as this is, even if the gum were mine, it was not at the scene of the crime.
But this was. This piece of cheese. This cheese was on Mr. Stapleton's desk on the night of his death, and the bite mark on this piece of cheese matches the bite mark on this piece of gum. This is your dental chart, Mr. Finch. This is an X-ray of your eye tooth. It has a distinct chip on the right front side and a number of small notches running along the other lateral edge. I haven't taken a mold of your tooth yet, Mr. Finch, but when I do, it's going to be the same thing as a fingerprint. The mold of your tooth is going to match exactly the bite mark on this piece of cheese, placing you at the scene of the crime. You're under arrest, sir. Suspicion of murder.
Excuse me.
Ladies and gentlemen, fellow workers, dear friends, this is a night to remember.
One bite of cheese.
One bite of cheese.
Let every man be paid in cheese. Or fools. What is it from the conspirators?
Oh, I can't remember.
Yeah.
Every fool be paid in cheese. Every cheese be paid in fools.
That's it.
That
was like me the other night, full of cheese.
I didn't like this.
Why not? Yeah, okay. I liked where they got to, but I think there was an unnecessary detour, which I think you can explain.
Yeah. Well, what do they need the chewing gum for? They've got the cheese and he's got his dental charts. Mm-hmm. And they can take a mould of his teeth. Why do they need chewing gum?
They don't.
It's just to get that scene with Columbo in the bin to fill out the episode.
Yeah. I think the cheese on its own is fine, and I don't mind it as a clue. I think, as we mentioned at the start, it's a little bit... For someone who is not only a smart guy, he works in the legal field. He's a defence or a DA or whatever it is.
Yeah.
He's a criminal lawyer. This would be quite an obvious
mistake. Yeah.
Yeah, you could have expected someone else, another character, not to have noticed that, but leaving it, unless, of course, the fact that Columbo then there had to explain dental records and how that could be ID'd, and it was it was an article in the magazine.
It could be they need the chewing gum to get the warrant to get the dental records to show it was him.
Yeah.
I don't know, that seems a bit much.
Yeah.
But
no, I just mean in general that making a mistake of eating the cheese, if the dental...
it wasn't aware of the possibility of...
Yeah, although dental records have been around for years.
They identified folk by them for a long time.
Yeah.
Still do.
Of course.
The other thing I worry about is, why did he have the cheese with him? Surely that needs to be kept climate controlled to avoid sort of erosion and rubbing away of the teeth marks. What if he ran over and stole the cheese and ate the cheese?
What if he's that? It's a busy ballroom.
It's in Columbo's pocket. It was really sweaty and melty.
Someone could have pressed up against him and it
That was crazy.
Yeah, unless of course it was in a lab, but he was using that just to...
That wasn't actually the bit of cheese.
No.
It was a different bit of cheese.
Yeah. He was only using it to make the point to Finch.
I do like the allusion to a mousetrap.
Mm-hmm.
A bit of cheese that catches the bad guy.
Yes, that was nice. Overall, as we have discussed over the last hour or so, there are certainly weaknesses. There are areas which should have been improved and polished up on. However, as we both agreed at the start, I think it was, for all that, an enjoyable episode.
Best of McGowan's episodes so far, and best of the new episodes
I think so
far, and thoroughly enjoyable, and sits fine with anything that came before it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying it's the best ever Columbo, but it sits fine.
It does. I mean, I think, we are looking at this from a more critical perspective when we do this, and we're trying to, look at the flaws in the plan, etc. But if you were only watching this as a casual fan, none of this would have made any difference to you, and I think it would have been a really, really great episode.
I agree.
So, there we have it.
Have you got any more trivia before we get to our summary?
No, I don't.
You're not going to talk about McGowan, I suppose. You've already covered him.
Cover McGowan. We've covered quite a few of the people here. Let's see then. So, production information. 10th February 1990 at 91 minutes in length. McGowan, the director, the third of his 4th acting credits and the third of his 5th directing credits.
Okay.
Jeffrey Bloom was the writer, first of 3 Columbo episodes. He has written for Starsky and Hutch, Swan Song, no connection, Nightmares, Blood Beach, and he is now a photographer.
Quite established then.
Mm-hmm. Episode review.
Dun dun dun.
Motive.
Protect the political careers of himself and his colleague.
Kill a blackmailer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Alibi.
Meeting at the office.
Mm-hmm. This, I think, is a strong alibi. So it's a 2-part alibi. Originally, it didn't require Mackie to support it.
Yeah, and you pulled him in. But I thought it was a well-planned alibi, well-executed alibi, and probably a bit unlucky with the slow-drying tarmac.
I agree. Clues. You have the blood spots, the fax machine jokes, the cheese and the gum, the dry parking space. There was another one. Wetsuit, the non-smoking.
Yes, Mackie getting involved with that. Then Columbo finding out about the 1969 escapade.
Yep.
The phone call to Finch's house.
So, decent clues.
Yeah.
And the gotcha, as we've just discussed there. Not a bit convoluted.
Yeah, but essentially nicely done.
Mm-hmm.
Caught in a trap.
It was an elementary mistake.
Yeah, you could see when he was doing it. Just eat the cheese. Eat the cheese.
No, don't, as I'm saying, don't...
Once you started.
Yeah. Of course, once you started, but often, I suppose a lot of the times today when you look at older movies or TV shows, and it didn't have the forensics back then, but it's amazing when you see someone get into a crime scene to commit a murder and they're like smoking a cigarette or smoking a cigar. Like in Mind Over Mayhem, it's incredible to think, you should be thinking, I'm going to leave as little a forensic footprint here as possible. I won't touch anything I don't need to.
Yeah.
I certainly won't spark up a cigarette.
No,
or
drop my DNA everywhere I
I'm
go.
not going to eat the cheese.
No, and even then he had no gloves on at that point. So I was thinking fingerprints on the cheese.
Dust my cheese.
Dust the cheese.
So the gotcha was fine. I thought that it was a weakness that he left that such a...
It seemed out of character given the amount of effort he put into everything else.
Mm-hmm. And his experience and expertise.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I suppose his theory is that he can construct an alternative narrative of suicide, and nothing that's been shown disproves the suicide.
Mm-hmm. Okay. As always, we can chat more in depth.
Couple of weeks
time, yeah.
Well, 3 weeks, I think. 6 in this season.
Mm-hmm. Next week, an intriguing title perhaps, Ian, for yourself.
Okay.
Rest in peace, Mrs. Columbo.
Oh, the death of Mrs. Columbo.
Uh-huh.
This is exciting.
Mm.
It's a bit sad, though. We'll miss her.
We will.
Usual spiel to end. iTunes, rate, review, subscribe. Please, it helps people find the show. More people that find the show, better it is for everybody in non-tangible ways. And we'll see you next week, I think.
Contribute on the...
Oh, you've got the forums. Yeah, come join us in the forums. We always get a good bit of chat after each episode, and you can even go back into the older ones and we'll spot your comments and try and join in as best we can with those as well. And as ever, Facebook and Twitter are there for chatting to us or about the podcast or about the Columbo episode, whatever takes your fancy.
Indeed.
And that's us for this week, so we'll see you next week. Cheerio.
Bye-bye.
You have been listening to the Columbo podcast from Heard Yet Media.